started on a quiet Monday morning. People were going to work. Kids were going to school. The sky was blue. The sun was bright. Everything seemed normal. Then, the sky changed. A shadow covered the clouds. Birds flew away. Dogs barked. Phones stopped working. Above Earth, something massive appeared. A ship. Not just any ship. It was bigger than a city. Black as night. Silent. Floating high above the Earth. No sound. No message. Just there. The world froze. Governments tried to contact the ship. No answer. Fighter jets flew near it. The ship didn't move. Satellites took pictures. It had no weapons, no lights, no signs of life, but it looked like a giant monster sleeping in the sky. People panicked. Some prayed, some ran. Others just stared. Then, after 2 days of silence, a message came. Not a video, just words. On every screen, every phone, every TV. Send one human, only one, no weapons, no tricks, we talk peace. The message repeated in every language. The world asked, who will go? Military generals wanted to send a soldier. Scientists wanted to send a diplomat. But the ship said again, one human, no politics, no lies, truth only. After many hours, one name came up. Mark Harlan. A quiet man. Former Special Forces. Smart, calm, no family, no past scandals. He had seen war but didn't talk about it. He lived in a small cabin alone in the mountains. When asked, Mark didn't say much. He just nodded and said, all right, I'll go. 2 days later, Mark stood at the base of the ship. He wore a simple, gray suit, no weapons, just a small backpack with food and water. The world watched on screens. The ship opened. A door appeared, smooth, glowing, and silent. Mark walked in. The door closed behind him. Darkness, then light. He stood inside a huge hall. The floor was metal. The air was warm but not hot. Then he heard it. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy steps. The sound of claws clicking on steel. From the shadows, a shape came forward. Mark's heart raced, but his face stayed calm. Out of the darkness came a dragon. Not a myth. Not fantasy. A real, living dragon. 7 meters tall. Black-red scales. Glowing. Yellow eyes. Smoke came from its nose. Its wings folded behind its back like a cape. It stood on 2 legs. Walked like a man. But it was no man. Behind it, more dragons appeared. 5 of them. All huge. All silent. Mark looked up. You wanted one human, I'm here. The big one stepped closer. Its voice was deep like thunder, but its words were clear. You are calm. Good. Most humans would scream. Mark didn't blink. Screaming wouldn't help. The dragon tilted its head. We respect your courage. Then, it said something strange. We do not come to destroy, we do not come to steal, we come to ask. Mark raised an eyebrow. Ask for what? The dragon looked around at the others, then back at Mark. We ask for your permission to fight. Mark was confused. Fight who? Another dragon stepped forward, smaller with blue scales. There is something coming. A force that kills stars, destroys planets. We call it the dark wave. We ran from it, lost half our kind. Earth is the last safe place. Mark frowned. So why not just ask for help? The big dragon growled softly. Because if you say no, we will take Earth by force. Silence. Mark looked at them. He saw their muscles, their claws, their fire. But he didn't step back. He simply asked, so, this is not a peace talk, is it? The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. It is peace, if you agree. The other dragons closed in, forming a circle around Mark. He felt their heat. He felt the danger, but his voice stayed calm. Then let me ask you something, he said. The dragons looked at him. Mark continued. If you lost to the dark wave, what makes you think humans can win? The big dragon bared its teeth. A smile or a warning? Because humans fight like no other race we've seen. You are clever, brutal, You fight even when hope is lost. You don't just survive. You adapt. You learn. You hate to lose. Mark said nothing. Then the dragon stepped even closer. We've watched you. For years. Wars. Battles. History. You are not weak. You are dangerous. Mark nodded slowly. Maybe we are, he said. The dragon's next words chilled him. We don't want peace, human. We want your fire, your anger, your will to fight. Without it, we die. Mark stood still, heart pounding. The fate of Earth, of the galaxy, might now rest on him. He looked up at the creatures and finally said, "All right, let's talk." Mark stood in silence. The dragons stared at him, their glowing eyes unblinking. The air inside the alien ship felt heavy, like a storm about to begin. The largest dragon, the one who spoke first, stepped forward again. His name was Kareth, leader of the Catharn. His scales were black with deep red lines glowing, like lava. His voice was calm but full of power. "You asked why we want war," Kareth said. "We do not want it, but we must have it." Mark raised an eyebrow. "Then say it plain." Kareth paused, then began to walk. His heavy steps echoed in the long metal hall. "Many years ago, we ruled 5 planets. Strong, proud. Then, they came, from the edge of space. The dark wave. Another dragon spoke now. A female with silver scales and long horns. Her voice was quieter, sadder. We thought they were machines. They were not. They were alive, hungry, cold. They didn't talk, didn't stop. They came like a storm. They don't take land. They take light. They drain suns. Mark listened closely. Kareth continued. "We fought them. For years. We lost. Millions died. Our best warriors burned. Our ships fell. Our suns faded." He looked directly at Mark. "We ran. We searched. And then, we found you." Mark nodded slowly. "Earth." "Yes," Kareth said. "A planet full of life, strong gravity, rich with energy. But more than that," the silver dragon spoke again. "You are fighters. Even your smallest wars are full of fire. No other species resists like you." Kareth added, "We watched your world for 30 years. You are cruel to each other, but when you unite, nothing stands in your way." Mark crossed his arms. "So, you want us to fight your enemy?" Kareth shook his head. "No, we want you to lead." The words hit like a hammer. Mark frowned. "You want humans to lead you into battle?" "Yes," Kareth said. "You think differently. You make war into art, into science, into victory." Mark paced slowly, thinking. "What's in it for us?" The silver dragon looked away. "Survival." Kareth nodded. "If we lose, the dark wave will reach Earth. It will burn your oceans, kill your stars. You won't even know you're dying until it's too late." Mark looked at them carefully. Something wasn't right. He asked, "Why ask me? Why not speak to the world's leaders? Governments?" Kareth's eyes narrowed. "Because they lie. They hide. They delay. You are a soldier. You understand time." Another dragon, tall and gold, stepped forward. He spoke for the first time. "And there is another reason." Mark turned toward him. The gold dragon's voice was lower, slower. "Some of our kind do not trust humans. They wanted to take Earth without asking." Kareth said no. He said we ask first. One chance, one talk, with one human. Mark understood now. "So if I say no, the others will attack?" Silence. Kareth didn't answer. He didn't have to. Mark sighed. "That's not peace, that's blackmail." The silver dragon lowered her head. "We know, but time is short." Suddenly Mark heard something strange. Whisper. A clicking noise. It came from his right. A small drone flying silently across the wall. Not human-made. Alien Kareth didn't notice it. Mark's eyes followed it. The drone went into a side room behind a door that opened for just 1 second. Mark stepped closer. "What's in that room?" Kareth blocked his path. "Nothing you need to see." Mark stopped. That told him everything. They were hiding something. Mark smiled a little. "You want humans to help. You talk of honor. But you hide secrets," the silver dragon hissed. "You don't understand our pain." Mark's voice grew harder. "And you don't understand ours." Kareth raised a claw. "Enough, you have one job, decide." Mark stared at him. "I don't decide for Earth." Kareth leaned closer. "Then speak to your leaders. Ask them. Tell them what you saw." Mark looked him in the eye. "I will. But if I find out you're lying..." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Later that night, Mark sat alone, in a small room on the alien ship. He was allowed one call to Earth. He opened his wrist communicator, disguised as a watch. The signal connected to a secret Earth command channel. A voice came. "Report." Mark spoke quietly, quickly. "They say they want peace, but they're scared. Desperate. They're hiding something. Possibly weapons. Possibly plans to invade if we say no. They admire humans. They fear us too. They want us to fight a galactic enemy called the Dark Wave. It kills stars, destroys everything. I don't trust them, but I also believe the threat is real." The voice replied, "What's your recommendation?" Mark paused, then said, "Buy time. Prepare for both. Alliance or war." The voice was quiet for a moment, then answered, "Understood. You have command to delay them. Do what you must. Will ye? Be ready." As Mark ended the call, he looked out a small window at Earth, glowing blue and white in the distance. He whispered to himself, "Let's see what dragons do, when the human they chose fights back." Mark didn't sleep that night. His room on the alien ship was quiet, but his mind wasn't. The Catharn said they wanted help, said they feared a greater enemy, said Earth was the only hope, but something didn't feel right. Too much silence. Too much control. And that drone he saw, flying into the locked room. What were they hiding? In the morning, Kareth called for another meeting. Mark entered the main hall again. This time, only 3 dragons were there. Kareth, the silver-scaled, female named Velra, and the tall golden dragon Sithar. Kareth spoke first. "We waited for your answer, human. What did your leaders say?" Mark gave a calm smile. "They're listening, but they want more details." Velra looked uneasy. Sithar's tail flicked once, annoyed. Kareth nodded. "What details?" "Everything," Mark replied. "How many ships you have, what weapons, what you plan to do if we say no." The dragons glanced at each other. "You do not trust us?" Velra asked. Mark shrugged. "Would you trust strangers asking for more?" No one answered. Then Mark pointed at a metal door near the far wall, the same one the drone entered the day before. "I saw something go in there. What's behind that door?" Sithar growled. "Private Catharn space." Mark stepped closer. "But I thought this was a peace mission. No secrets." Kareth's voice was calm, but cold. "You ask many questions." "That's what humans do," Mark said. "We question. We check. We don't follow blindly." There was a pause. Then Kareth nodded slowly. "Very well, you wish to see?" Velra turned sharply. "Kareth, he must see," Kareth said, "or he will never trust us." The dragon walked to the door and placed his massive claw on a glowing panel. The door slid open, with a hiss. Mark followed. Inside the room, the lights were dim. The walls were covered in strange symbols. Catharn, writing. In the center of the room stood a long glass chamber. Inside it, Mark froze. A human, or what looked like one. It was a young man floating in blue liquid, asleep. Tubes connected to his arms and head. His body was thin, weak, his skin pale. "Who is he?" Mark asked. Velra stepped beside him. Voice soft. He was one of your people. We found him in space. A lost ship from a forgotten war. He was near death. We saved him. Mark's voice was low. He's still alive? Yes, Kareth said. We learned from him. About your kind. Your thinking. Your pain. Mark stared. You experimented on him? Sithar stepped forward. He volunteered. In the end, he chose to help us. Mark's fists clenched. He didn't believe them. Why didn't you tell Earth about this? He asked. Kareth's face was unreadable. Because your people would not understand. You would see only the body, not the truth. Mark looked again at the floating man. His chest moved, slowly, still alive. Then he saw it, a tattoo on the man's shoulder. A symbol, UNSS, United Nations spaceship, a lost exploration team from 22 years ago. Mark's voice dropped. His name was Commander Leo Grant. He disappeared on the mission to Europa. Vylra nodded. That is what he told us. He was brave. Mark's thoughts raced. What else had they learned from Leo? What else were they keeping? Later, back. In his room, Mark used his wrist communicator to send a secret message. They have a missing Earth officer. Name, Leo Grant. Alive. Used for study. Possibly brain-linked. Check old records. He waited, pacing the room. He now understood something else. The Catharn didn't just want help, they wanted control, and they were using human minds to understand how to take it. But then, a message came back. Confirmed Leo Grant listed MIA, presumed dead, last contact 22 years ago. Orders, continue mission, gather intel, stay alert. Mark closed the communicator. Stay alert, he whispered. Easier said than done, that. Evening, Kareth called him again. This time the dragons were more formal. A table was prepared, simple food, warm light, music, deep and slow, like a heartbeat. Kareth sat at the head of the table. Mark was given a seat across from him. We wish to move forward, Kareth said. Have you decided? Mark looked at each of them, then said slowly, if you want Earth's help, you need to be honest. No more secrets. No more hidden humans in tubes. Vylra lowered her eyes. Kareth said, then let us prove our trust. He placed a small orb on the table. It glowed blue. This holds full data on our enemy. The dark wave. Every attack. Every planet lost. You can send it to your leaders. Mark picked up the orb. He didn't smile. He didn't thank them. He simply said, I'll review it. Then stood and left the room. As the door closed behind him, Kareth leaned toward Vylra and Sithar. He's clever. He suspects much. Vylra whispered. Should we stop him? Kareth shook his head. No. Let him see the truth. If he still chooses to fight, then we will know he is the one. Sithar growled low. And if he chooses war against us? Kareth's eyes glowed brighter. Then we end him before the others rise. Mark sat in his room staring at the glowing orb. Inside it was everything the dragons said they knew. About the dark wave, the lost planets, the destroyed cities, and the thousands of dead. He didn't open it yet. He didn't trust it. He didn't trust them. The Catharn were smart, powerful, deadly. But most of all, they were manipulators. Mark could feel it. They were telling part of the truth, just enough to pull humans in. But they were holding something back, something big. The orb might be a trap, or worse, a lie. So Mark waited. He opened his communicator. Request full analysis tools. Encrypt signal. I'm sending alien data. Earth Command replied in seconds. Tools ready. Uploading link. Proceed carefully. Mark connected the orb to his watch using a cable. The orb clicked once, then began glowing faster. Suddenly, lights flickered in his room. Then his vision blurred. Warning. Connection. Deepening. He felt a cold wind, but there was no wind in the room. Then a voice entered his mind. You see us now? It was not Kareth's voice. It wasn't even a dragon's voice. Mark opened his eyes, but he wasn't in the room anymore. He was standing in a dark space, floating. Stars glowed around him like tiny sparks in the night. Ahead of him stood a figure, Commander Leo Grant, the missing man. Leo looked tired, his face pale, his eyes dim, but he spoke clearly. They found me drifting, half dead. They healed my body, but stole my mind. Mark took a step closer. Where are we? Leo looked around. Inside the data orb. Inside them. This is how they see, how they speak. They call it a gift, but it's a prison. Mark narrowed his eyes. Are they controlling you? Leo smiled sadly. They don't need chains. They use something worse. Guilt, hope, lies. They showed me the dark wave. I believed them. I helped them understand human war. But now I know. They don't just want help. They want control. Mark's heart pounded. Why me? Why choose me? Leo's eyes locked on his. Because you're not just a soldier, you're a symbol. You survived 6 wars. You never surrendered. They think you're the perfect weapon. They want humans to follow you into battle under their command. Mark's fists clenched. They're not asking for help, he said. They're building an army. Leo nodded. Yes, and once the dark wave is gone, they may not stop. Suddenly the stars blinked out. The space around them collapsed. Leo's voice echoed one last time. Don't trust the peace, find the hidden ones. They... Flash. Mark fell back into his chair, gasping. The orb dropped from his hand and rolled to the floor. Smoke came from his watch. His nose bled. But he was awake. And now, he knew the truth. Later, during the evening, Kareth invited Mark to the command deck of the ship. The room was huge, full of glowing panels, maps, and shifting star charts. Dragons walked slowly, speaking in low voices. Their claws clicked on the metal floor. Kareth stood near a giant window, watching Earth spin below. You look tired, human. Mark kept his face blank. Bad dreams. Kareth smiled. Dreams teach. So does pain. Mark stepped beside him. I looked into your orb. The data was impressive, but I have questions. Kareth turned to him. Ask. Mark said quietly. Who else have you contacted? Kareth didn't answer. So Mark continued. Leo Grant told me the truth. Inside the orb. Kareth's face didn't change, but his tail flicked. He is not whole. His mind is broken. You saw his pain. You think that is truth? Mark didn't look away. I think he told me more than you ever have. Kareth's voice dropped. Then, perhaps, you're not ready. Mark laughed once, cold and short. Or maybe I'm too ready. Sithar, the golden dragon, entered the room. Commander, he said to Kareth. The other humans grow suspicious. Their satellites see our ships. Kareth nodded. Then, it is time. He looked at Mark. We leave orbit tomorrow, with or without your answer. Mark raised an eyebrow. Running away? No. Preparing. The enemy moves faster than expected. We must meet them in deep space. You are free to join us, or return home. Mark looked at Earth once more. His world. His people. Then he turned to the dragons. I'll go with you. That night, Mark sent a final coded message. Boarding. Ship. Going with them. Confirm Leo Grant's history, and find out what Hidden Ones means. Also, watch the skies. I think there are more of these ships than we know. As he walked through the alien halls, Mark passed the door to the hidden room again, the one with Leo inside. It was locked now. He stopped and stared at it. 2 guards, red-scaled dragons, watched him closely. Mark gave them a nod, then walked on, but his mind was racing. There are secrets under their scales, he thought, and I'm going to peel them off, one lie at a time. The Catharn ship left Earth's orbit in silence. Its engines made no sound. Its lights were dim. Its weapons were hidden, but ready. Mark stood near a window, watching the stars slide past. Earth was now just a small blue light behind him. He was alone with the dragons, but he wasn't afraid. He was watching, listening, waiting. In the command room, Kareth stood at a star map. Hundreds of dots blinked on the screen. Ships, stations, and strange red zones marked as void-burned. Sithar, the Golden Dragon, was tense. We moved to Sector 7F. Last attack happened there. A small moon burned in under 2 minutes. Kareth nodded. Send scouts. Stay hidden. Vylra entered, her silver scales shining in the dim light. Mark, she said, we want to show you something. It may help you understand the enemy. Mark followed her down a long hall. The air grew colder. The lights flickered. She opened a sealed door. Inside was a large room, half dark, half glowing with screens. And in the center, a prisoner. Not a dragon, not a human, something else. It floated inside a glass tank, tall, thin, with no eyes. Its skin was black and smooth. Energy flowed around it like smoke. It wasn't moving. Mark stepped closer. What is that? Vylra answered softly. A Darkwave scout. We captured it 6 cycles ago. It does not speak. It does not eat, but it tries to escape every day. Mark stared at it. It was terrifying, and somehow familiar. Suddenly the creature turned. It looked right at him. Mark jumped back. I thought it couldn't see. Vylra looked, worried. It can't, but it feels minds. Yours must be strong. Mark's hand moved to his belt, where his emergency signal device was hidden. He didn't trust this thing. He didn't trust any of this. Later, back in his room, Mark opened a private message from Earth Command. We found something. The Catharn made contact with other species before, promised peace, then took control. One species fought back, vanished. No survivors, Mark whispered to himself. So they've done this before. Suddenly, the lights went out. His door locked. Then, a voice came from the walls. Mark, it's me, Leo. Mark stood up. How are you speaking? I found a way. They don't know. Listen carefully. There is a plan, a secret ship, hidden inside this one. It holds weapons not for the Darkwave, but for Earth. Mark's blood turned cold. You're sure? Yes, I saw the files. They plan to fake a Darkwave attack on Earth, so humans panic and agree to join their war. Then they take control. Mark's eyes narrowed. That's not peace, that's invasion. Suddenly, the lights came back on. The door opened. Vylra stood outside. Come, we need you on the bridge. Mark followed her, but now his mind was racing. Where is the hidden ship, he asked. She looked surprised. What? The hidden ship inside this one, he said calmly. What is it for? Vylra stopped walking. Her face froze. You spoke to him? Yes, Mark said, and I believe him. Without warning, Vylra lunged. Mark moved fast. She tried to grab his communicator, but he kicked her back and ran. Dragons shouted behind him. The alarm sounded. Mark ran through the halls, toward the ship's lower decks. He reached a sealed hangar, locked. But he had trained for worse. He pulled out a small plasma knife, trying to slice the panel, and hot-wired the door. It opened with a hiss. Inside, another ship, hidden, armed, pointed at Earth. Its sides held strange symbols, and one word, written in Catharn language, control. Mark stepped inside. The ship was ready, engines warm, weapons charged. Leo was right, he whispered. They were never asking for help, they were planning a takeover. Just then, Kareth appeared at the hangar entrance. He looked angry, but calm. You were not supposed to find this. Mark stood his ground. You lied. Kareth walked slowly forward. We told you most of the truth. The dark wave is real, but humans are unpredictable, dangerous. We must guide your future. Mark shook his head. You mean control it. Kareth raised a claw. We offered peace. You chose resistance. Mark raised his weapon. No, I chose freedom. He pressed a button. Boom. An explosion rocked the hangar, a distraction he said earlier. Kareth roared and charged. Mark jumped into the ship's cockpit and hit launch. The small ship blasted out of the hangar, through the hull, and into space. Dragons fired at him, but missed. As he sped away, Mark sent a final message to Earth. The dragons lied. They planned to fake an attack. Prepare defenses. I have proof. This was never about saving the galaxy. It was about controlling humanity. Back on the Catharn ship, Kareth watched the escape. Baelra stood beside him. He will warn them. Kareth's eyes burned red. Then let him try. The real war begins now. Mark's stolen ship raced through deep space. He flew low, fast, and silent. Behind him, the Catharn warship grew smaller, but not weaker. They would come after him. They would try to stop him. But Mark had what they feared most: the truth. He opened the data files inside the ship. Thousands of recordings, logs, secret plans, all stored by the Catharn, and one video stood out. A Catharn meeting. Kareth stood at the center. He was not speaking to humans. He was speaking to his generals. The humans must be brought under control. Fear is our weapon. We will stage the enemy's attack near their homeworld. Once they beg for help, we take command of their fleets. They become soldiers for our cause. Forever. Mark's jaw clenched. That was it. They wanted to scare Earth into obedience. Not protect us, not help us, just control us. He pressed send. The files were sent in a burst transmission, hidden in a deep space signal stream. To Earth Command, this is Mark Arden. Proof attached. The Catharn lied. Prepare all defenses. Do not trust any offer of help. A few minutes later, a reply came. We received your files, confirming truth. They faked the last 3 attacks. Civilian deaths were staged. You have saved billions, Mark. But they are coming. Suddenly the ship shook. Boom! Warning lights flashed. A Catharn interceptor had found him, fast, armed, red like blood. It fired again, lasers flying past his wing. Mark turned sharply. His stolen ship was not made for speed, but it was made for stealth. He powered down all weapons and vanished into a debris field near a shattered moon. The interceptor slowed, then flew past. Mark sighed in relief. One more second, and I was space dust. Now he had a new mission: return to Earth. He plotted a course. 2 jumps through wormholes. Risky, but fast. He hit the button. The ship trembled, stars stretched, and he vanished into light. Back on Earth, the leaders of the United Human Federation sat in silence. Screens showed the Catharn warship still, near the edge of the system. They had sent a message that morning. A dark wave fleet is near. We will protect you. Let us lead. Now, Earth knew the truth, but the people didn't. We must warn the public, one general said. Another shook his head. We can't. Not yet. Panic will break the cities. Then a voice spoke. We show them the truth. The video. The lies. It was Admiral Rains. Let them see Mark's proof. Let them choose if they want Catharn help. And so they did. The video went live. Across Earth, screens lit up. People watched Kareth promise lies, promise control. They saw dead cities that were not real. They saw the secret ship, ready to fake an attack on Earth. Anger spread like fire. The Catharn were no longer welcome. Kareth saw the broadcasts from space. His face stayed calm, but his tail thrashed with fury. He warned them. Seether lowered his head. What now? Kareth turned to the stars. Now we stop pretending. Meanwhile, Mark's ship reached the final jump. He was close to home, but something was wrong. A strange signal echoed in space. Unknown object ahead. He checked the scanner. No, not an object. A fleet. Hundreds of ships appeared ahead of him. Not Catharn. Not human. Dark wave. Real this time. Black, silent, alive. No lights. No windows. No sound. Just movement. Mark stared in shock. So they are real. Kareth wasn't lying about everything. One of the ships turned. It sensed him. He pulled back on the controls, reversed the jump, and vanished before it could fire. He arrived back near Earth, shaken but alive. He opened a new channel. Dark wave confirmed. Full fleet, they're coming. Catharn lied, but the threat is still real. We need a defense plan. Fast. Earth Command replied. Copy that. Return to base. A council has been called. 1 hour later, Mark stood in front of Earth's highest leaders. He showed them the last piece of truth. Yes, the Catharn lied. Yes, they tried to use us. But the dark wave is real. Bigger than we thought. He looked around the room. So now we face two enemies. One that tried to control us, and one that wants to destroy us. Silence followed. Then Admiral Rains spoke. We prepare. No more allies. No more blind trust. Humanity stands alone now. Outside in Earth's orbit, defense ships powered up, shields rose, guns locked on targets, and far away, in the cold black of space, the dark wave moved. Slow, endless, hungry, and nothing could stop it, but humans were going to try. The sky above Earth was no longer calm. Satellites moved faster. Space stations locked into defense mode. Fleets began to form in orbit. Warships, gunships, and fast response carriers. Every human knew now, the Catharn lied. The dark wave was real, and Earth stood alone. Mark Arden stood on the command deck of the flagship Valor 1. He looked out the wide window. His home planet spun below. This was not the same Earth he left weeks ago. Now it was a world at war. Status. Report, Mark said. A young officer answered. Fleet formation is 90% complete. Outer defense grid is active. Civilian evacuations have started in major cities. We've also set up deep space mines around key entry points. Mark nodded. What about the Catharn? Their ship moved to the dark side of Mars. No communication, no movement yet. Mark's eyes narrowed. They're waiting, watching, looking for weakness. In a secret base beneath Earth's surface, the leaders of the United Human Federation met again. Admiral Rains slammed a file on the table. This is not just a fight for Earth. The dark wave has destroyed dozens of worlds. We might be next. General Seo leaned forward. But we don't forget the Catharn. They faked attacks, lied to us. They still have weapons hidden. What if they attack while we fight the wave? Rains nodded. We plan for both. That night, Mark met with a special team, the Black Pulse Unit, humans trained in silence, sabotage, and space infiltration. They had one mission, find out what the Catharn were doing on Mars. Mark briefed them. Their big ship may be quiet, but it's not empty. Leo is still aboard, maybe others. We need info, fast. The team leader saluted. We'll find the truth, sir. Hours later, they launched a stealth pod toward Mars. The Catharn ship floated like a dark shadow above the red planet. No lights, no signals. But it was awake, waiting. The Black Pulse team landed silently on its hull and cut through. What they found shocked them. Inside the ship was another ship. Not a warship, a colony ship. Huge. Full of food, supplies, chambers. They were building this all along, one soldier whispered. Not just to fight the dark wave, but to replace us. Mark received their report and stared at the screen. They planned for Earth to fall. Then they would move in and rebuild it in their own way. They didn't come to help. They came to inherit. His fists tightened. No more waiting. Back in space, the first dark wave ships arrived. Silent. Black. Cold. They didn't send a message. They didn't ask for terms. They just began scanning Earth, like it was already theirs. Admiral Rains stood before every Earth fleet captain. This is it. We don't wait for them to fire first. We don't trust monsters anymore. Humanity stands together. No surrender. Then came the voice. Across every channel, every screen. A strange, hollow sound, cold and distant. It wasn't speech. It was a warning. You will be unmade. The signal ended, and the first attack began. Dark wave ships fired beams of black energy, cutting through defense satellites like paper. Earth ships returned fire. Missiles, lasers, EMP blasts. Space lit up like fireworks. The battle had begun. Mark joined the front line. In Valor 1, he gave his first combat order. Aim for the cores. These things don't have cockpits, just power centers. Missiles streaked toward the enemy. One ship exploded, then another. But the dark wave kept coming. Silent. Endless. Suddenly, a new threat appeared. The Catharn warship powered up. Engines roared. Lights returned. Its weapons turned toward Earth's ships. Mark watched the screen. Are they joining the dark wave? Or something worse? The answer came seconds later. Kareth's voice echoed across channels. You forced our hand, humans. We offered unity. You chose defiance. Now you face the storm, alone. And then, the Catharn ship turned. Not toward Earth, not toward the dark wave, but toward both. Kareth fired at a dark wave. Ship 1 blast on direct hit. The alien vessel cracked open and exploded. Everyone on Earth paused. Even the dark wave slowed. Mark stared at the screen. What are they doing? Kareth spoke again. The wave threatens all life. We lied to control you, but we will not let the galaxy die. Fight with us, or fall without us. Mark didn't reply. Not yet. He watched as the Catharn ship charged into battle. Claws and energy roaring. Sithar's squadron followed. They fought the dark wave with everything they had. Mark turned to his crew. We can't trust them, but maybe we can use them. For now, we fight side by side. And so, for the first time, humans and dragons fought together. Ships flew in formation. Weapons fired in rhythm. The battle lit up the stars, but it was only the beginning. Because far behind the first wave, something bigger moved. A ship larger than a city. A creature or machine. No one understood. The true leader of the dark wave. And it was coming. The sky above Earth was fire. Dragons and humans fought side by side in space. Dark wave ships kept coming. Black, silent, endless. Each one destroyed meant 2 more appeared. But neither side gave up. Not yet. Mark Arden stood on the bridge of Valor 1, eyes locked on the enemy. His face was cut. His hands were burned, his voice was calm. Hold formation, push them back, buy us time, a junior officer shouted. Sir, a massive energy reading. Something huge is coming through. Everyone looked at the main screen. In deep space, the stars vanished. Something blocked them. It was not a ship. It was a giant. It looked like a living machine, a tower of dark metal with wings made of shadow. A red eye glowed in its chest. Was the core mind, the brain of the dark wave. Kareth, watching from his ship, growled in fear. That is not a commander. It is a god. Vaelra, the silver dragon, looked to Mark. We have never beaten it, not once. Mark stared. At the monster. Then we'll be the first. Earth's fleet opened fire. Catharn ships followed. But the core mine didn't stop. It didn't dodge. It just moved forward, absorbing damage like smoke. Then it spoke. The voice wasn't loud. It was inside their minds. You fight to stay alive, but you were never meant to exist. You are chaos, we are order. Mark gritted his teeth. We are free. And we won't go quietly. He turned to Leo, now fully connected to Earth's AI systems. Leo, options? 1. We overload the warp core on this ship. Full detonation. It may destroy the core mind. Mark nodded. But we'll die? Leo's voice was soft. Yes, but humanity will live. On the Catharn ship, Kareth heard the same reports. The humans will sacrifice themselves. Velra looked shocked. Even after we betrayed them? Kareth said nothing. Then, after a long pause, prepare our core too, we'll go with them. Mark opened a channel. Kareth's face appeared. Scars, smoke, fire behind him. 2 cores, Mark said. Together. Kareth growled. Together. The 2 ships broke formation. They flew straight at the core mind. The monster turned slowly to face them, energy built in its red eye. Mark took a breath. All weapons, all engines, all power, to the core. Inside the bridge, alarm screamed, the ship shook, fire burned in the walls. Mark sent one final message to Earth. Fight for each other, not for power, not for control. We are more than dust. We are human. Then he looked at Leo. Now. Leo pressed the code. So did Kareth. 2 ships, 2 enemies, 1 final strike. The explosion was like a new star. White light swallowed. The core mind. The scream that followed was not sound, but it was silence. Then, nothing. For a moment all ships stopped. Even the dark wave. Their leader was gone. The connection broke, and like puppets with cut strings, the enemy ships began to fall, one by one, crashing into each other, burning into nothing. The war was over, but not without cost. On Earth, people watched in silence. Then cheers rose, flags flew, cities lit up. They had survived. Because 2 warriors, 1 human, 1 dragon had given everything, together. Months passed. A new statue stood in the center of Earth's capital. 2 figures side by side, a man in a torn flight suit, a dragon with fire in its eyes. Below them the words, "We fought as many. We stood as one." And in the stars, the fire of their sacrifice still burned, a light no darkness could ever swallow.